Welcome, everybody. I feel like it's been a minute. It's good to see everyone in the daylight. And welcome, Mark, to the District House.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, totally. I'm excited you're here because you are not located in Santa Barbara, but you're in Topanga. So that's quite close to us.
Yep.
And I feel super impressed with what you've created with the Frequency House and your brand Frequency. So I'm excited for you to share more about all that you've created. But please take a minute and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are in your lens.
Um, yeah, my name's Mark Kohl. I came out of the film business for a long time, for about 30 some years. And through that journey, I fell into severe alcoholism about 20 some years ago. And I spent a good decade trying to get out of it. I went through rehabs and all kinds of things, and nothing worked. So, I basically, I was literally on death's door, and I went into my last rehab. And then, anyway, this time I came out of that, and I discovered ayahuasca, and that was 11 years ago. And so from that day to now, I've rebuilt my life, and natural plant psychedelic medicine became a part of it before anybody was even talking about it. And my new purpose now is to kind of share my wisdom, strength, and hope with everyone from my journey. And part of that journey is creating the brand Frequency, which we are a holistic, sacred medicine grower. Like, we found out that nobody's doing that. Like, everybody's kind of growing it for profit and stuff. So that's not what we're doing. And then along with that, I have what we call the Frequency House, which is a collective that's similar to a Soho house kind of thing. So we have a couple acres of land in Topanga that we offer land and facilities, lotus lounges, a lotus bell tent, and vistas, views over the canyon for people to do their ceremony work or their natural healing modality work that in a safe, sacred place that we can operate and everybody can network together. And so it's kind of like a subscription-based model, and we do live streaming and whatever. But there's so many healers out there that need a place to land, and we have a place to land. So that's what Frequency House is about. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing a glimpse into your journey. Using ayahuasca sort of as a catalyst to heal from alcoholism. I would love to hear some of these core fundamental consciousness shifts that you received probably from ayahuasca and your plant medicine integration and journeys after that, around acknowledging the matrix that we live within, and that everything has been built and passed on to us through what we've been exposed to and what we've been told. And we've chatted a bit that you rose to this next level of consciousness, realizing that there is a choice to opt out of that and create something anew. So I'd love to hear in your words what that awakening was like.
Good question. Well, the awakening wasn't like a light bulb. Although I will say my first ayahuasca journey was a lightning bolt. But I never realized how completely programmed we are. Like, it just blew me away of what we think is reality was literally, I don't even have a word for it. Like, when I did my first ceremony, it just exploded and burnt and took all of what I thought was real, my belief systems, completely eradicated them. And I was left with pure consciousness. And I felt the most joy I'd ever. I was 53 years old, and I had the most joy I'd ever felt in my life in an hour. And this is when it was really underground. We were doing it in a basement. There was no intake. There was nobody telling you what anything was. I just showed up with a sleeping bag on a concrete floor because I was willing to do anything to stay alive. And it just, and I remember saying to the shaman, I said, how can this be illegal? Like, if everybody did this, there would be no divorce, there would be no war, there would be like, and he just looked at me like I was an idiot, and he goes, because happy people don't buy anything. And he walked away. And you're looking at a guy that made 3,000 commercials, right? So I realized I was creating every commercial I was creating a complete illusion for you to buy shit you don't need with money you don't have. That was my job. I didn't even know I was doing that, right? So I would pick the colors. I knew the music. I knew whatever it is to draw you in to create this hypnotic trance for you to get into this, to buy this product, which means that you have lack, right? So I'm creating a sense of lack in you so that you buy this thing that is an illusionary thing that will make you happy. Like a kid buys a little toy and they're done with it in 5 minutes, right? So, but then I started realizing the whole system is designed for you to be miserable. Like, right? So humans, we are like, what is democracy? Democracy is based on the individual's rights. Well, human beings don't operate as individuals, right? We operate as tribes. We operate as man and woman, male and female, families. That's how we, a tribe raises a kid or a village raises a child. We help each other and together human beings thrive, right? We're tribal. Like if everybody in the tribe does their job, does their archetype, together the tribe will survive nature. Any one person leaves the tribe, they die, right? So we are like that. So we have this whole system out there designed on the individual's rights, separating us from ourselves, right? And then now we have all the movements to break up the families. They have, the parents are splitting up, everybody's living alone. Like human beings have never lived alone in history. Like, well, okay, right there you're creating misery, right? And then you also, everybody's got to work, so you're doubling the tax base. You've broken the family up, you're doubling the tax base. Now everybody's really miserable, so they're buying even more stuff they don't need with money they don't have. I mean, they're giving 30-year mortgages to 80-year-old people. It's not real, right? It's not. Right? So it doesn't make we don't even question these things, right? But when you get into these other realms, you start to really question, like, what's happening? So it's, and I went through it all. So when you become miserable, when you're broke, they give you credit cards that you fill up. Now you're not going anywhere, right? And all of a sudden we're working like slaves to our death because we can't ever get out of debt, and that's by design. And then we get stressed, and then, oh, here's a little bit of alcohol, right? And it works. Like I was stressed all the time. Why was I stressed, right? Because I'm trying to pay for a house on the ocean that I'm working so much to pay for. I'm never in it, right? So it's like, but we don't even know we're doing these things, and we're stressed, and we keep buying things and we buy things. Well, we know that the more things you have, like you don't own things, things own you, that's it. Like, so all of a sudden we're capitalists, we're buying these things because a capitalistic society cannot survive unless we're constantly purchasing things. That's what Amazon's based on, right? Amazon same day delivery, well, they have analytics. They know you're going to buy it before you do. It's sitting in a warehouse right down the street, and then you do buy it, right? So where I'm going with this is it's set up for misery. So, and then we have the chemicals and the drugs and the therapy that help us with the misery that we created, right? So then in that comes these medicines, and I know I went through it. I went to 5 rehabs. I went to thousands of AA meetings. I went to hundreds and hundreds of therapy sessions. I got shots that were $1,200 a month that would take away my cravings. But I realized I didn't have a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem, right? So any addict, and this is the other thing, we label everybody, right? So then that comes with massive shame, right? And shame, as we know, is the lowest vibrational thought there is. And shame is actually what makes us kill ourselves, right? So the yogis say, because I'm a big yogi, I studied Kundalini, but they say the mind is not your friend. It will tell you to put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger and be glad you did it. And then they go on to say the mind is not even yours, right? So we create this illusionary world of misery. 80 to 97% of your worries, this is stated fact or scientific fact, whatever the science you want to follow, but 80 to 97% of your worries and anxieties in this moment will never happen, right? But yet we live in them. And the body does not know the difference between a real event or imaginary event, right? So I make the analogy that these windows I mean, these worries are like windows open on the desktop of your mind. You got them all running, they're all taking up power, and they're all an illusion that you created, right? So I'm a camera guy, so you go from the wide lens, the peripheral lens of joy, and you zoom into these imaginary problems, and you're just spinning out trying to solve this stuff that's never going to happen, right? So then the body suffers because the brain is releasing the chemicals to fight this imaginary fight that's not going to happen, but it's releasing cortisol, it's releasing adrenaline, and it releases all these chemicals not for hours or days like nature would have it, but it does it for decades. So now it's a habit. So we live in this states of worry. They become a habit, which means they go into the subconscious mind and they go on autopilot. And like the Buddhists say, watch your thoughts. Thoughts become habits. Habits become your destiny, right? Now it's in the subconscious mind, which is 10 times the power of the conscious mind. And you unconsciously, subconsciously are now a worried person. So you're releasing, I know, I used to wake up, I'd have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank and I'd be panicking for no reason because I had become this, right? We are our habits. So, but when I did this ayahuasca ceremony, it just removed all thought. It removed all of this noise. And when you pull back thought, this is the concept of like mentalism and, ancient philosophies and Buddhism and stuff. Pure joy is the removal of thought, right? I mean, it is. This is where we go when we go into the psychedelic realm. We shut off thought. When you look into a baby's eyes or a dog's eyes, for a moment, when you stare into their eyes, you're looking at pure consciousness, right? That is the essence of us. So when we do that, we stop thinking for a minute. And then we feel that joy. We connect with that. Our consciousness connects. The dog has no judgment, right? So that's why we feel happy when we see a dog, because we're seeing life and consciousness with no thought. So psychedelics and everything, they work, I like to say, on a subtractive process. But by removing all thought, by removing all of it, all judgment, all trauma, everything, that's where joy is, right? So we were just talking outside about memory. Like I started thinking like, my memories may be going a little bit, but that's because I feel like I'm channeling more and more and I don't need to remember so much. But there's a lot of joy in that because if you think like, why are you so stressed? It's because you're worried about stuff. And where does the worry come from? Past information, past experiences, right? Kids don't worry. They've never paid a mortgage, right? So they're running around happy because they don't know, why is mommy and daddy so stressed? Well, they're trying to pay for their, they don't know. So they don't have any data to reference, right? So we build all this data up, and the more traumas we have and the more stress we have, it goes into the nervous system, and it's still in there. It goes in for, it's there forever. And therefore we become more and more stressed and more worried because we have all this stuff to reference. And that's how we end up sitting on a couch, watching Netflix, not going anywhere, and buying stuff on Amazon, right? So anyway, that's it, right? Yeah. But this is what we think happiness is, right? So anyway, maybe I'm getting off track here, but, I feel like when I feel like addiction is like the number one revenue for the world, right? Because data is the number one revenue generating thing. Well, data comes from our addiction to the phone, right? The more we're on the phone, the more data they're collecting, and therefore that's what they sell it, right? So, and then the next thing is you're stressed. So we have all these, chemicals with therapy to release depression, but all they're doing is diverting it, and they become addictive, and then you can't get off of it because they want you coming back, right? AA is a great program, but it labels you as an alcoholic and it labels you powerless because they want you coming back, right? A church, right? A pastor or preacher, they're really creating addicts because they want you to come back. If they told you everything that there was for you that they knew, they would say, all right, I've told you everything, go out and change the world, run free, right? But they don't. They want you to keep coming back because addiction is good for the economy. They want repeat business, right? A therapist in Western therapy is, kind of designed for you to be the victim, right? When when we get in, but when we because they want you to keep coming back. And I was in 5 rehabs. They don't really work because they want you to keep coming back. And by the way, a lot of the rehabs are owned by the pharmaceutical companies that actually got you addicted to so it's this loop, right? And it just goes on and on until we break it. Yeah.
Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff,
Sorry.
and
Yeah.
that's all right. There's a few things that I'm gonna respond to and lead us back to. But one thing that stood out is how you're talking about questioning things. And I imagine after this initial ayahuasca ceremony, you went through a myriad of questions, sort of unpacking how you've landed yourself in this career position with this mortgage in a house that you're not spending time in. And I'm curious what questions you started asking and answering that started to shape this pivot in trajectory?
Um, I th- you know, that's a great question. I started with, was I an alcoholic?
Like
Okay.
unpacking this identity
Yeah.
that people
Yeah.
put onto you.
Right. Because I was like, why? Like I went in all these rehabs and I never got better, but this time I was getting better. And I was like, why am I getting better? And I realized that we all have this story. This is the illusion. This is the big illusion, right? And the yogis say this. We're addicted to everything, or we get addicted, but we're mostly addicted to what we call our story, our sense of identity. And I realized that no matter how many AA meetings I went to, no matter how many therapies I went to, my story was I was a washed up, middle aged alcoholic director. And I was reminded that I was alcoholic all the time. So our story, living in the ego and the subconscious, is 10 times the power of the conscious mind. It will always win if we don't know it. We don't even know we have a story. We have this thing we call identity. We have this thing called personality, but that's based, if you're unaware, on what other people tell it or what other people tell us who we are. So that's an illusion because they don't even know who they are and they're telling us who we are, right? So I was told I was an alcoholic. Therefore, no matter what I did, I was going to pick up a drink and I was always struggling for it, right? So the way I changed through plant medicine is I changed my story. And I didn't even know I was doing it. But now that is not my story. And my mind looks for other ways to validate that story. So this is how we sabotage ourselves, because if we feel like we're unloved, right? So, or an alcoholic, when I would pick up a drink, the ego would go, aha, see, you are an alcoholic. Validation, power, right? Oh, that woman left you. Aha, you are unlovable. Validation. And this is how we spiral out of control and we check out, all based on an illusion, right? So that's not my story anymore.
Yeah, you also mentioned the deep association to addiction and shame. And I wonder how plant medicine and integration from those journeys has supported you in reshaping your relationship to shame.
Yeah, that's the big one. Shame, because, my whole life in the film business was based on a reputation of integrity. And I was solid. I didn't lie. I honored, if I shook your hand, it was happening. I was known for decades to be honorable, tough. I was very tough, but it was very truthful. And when I started in my, I don't even like saying these words out loud, but my alcoholism and addiction, I started lying. And that haunted me. And then you tell another lie to cover the other lie. And then all of a sudden, I'm just torture. I'm in total torture all the time of my own doing. Drink more, because it's now integrity. Now everything is on the line because I can't trust myself. And then I'd black out. I don't even know what I said. I don't even know what I did. It was just the shame, the shame, the shame, which took a very long time for me to clean up. Plant medicine really helped clean it up because it helped me for the first time, start to respect and love myself and go, wow, you went through all this. So you really understand this. And it's not easy, but there's a reason I went through all of that is to come out the other side to, we don't know what we don't know, but now I'm sitting here talking to people all over the place. I'm all kinds of podcasts and we have a brand and all we do is work with people struggling with their mind. And I'm coming, I got 11 years of experience with this and I go, and this is what brought me here, you know? So, the good news is we're in Southern California and we're on the epicenter of this change of consciousness, of thought, right? And we're the ones doing it. So, yeah, the shame is the one that will take you out. It's the suicide frequency for sure. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
And what I heard from that is something that supported you in sort of seeing the purpose behind it is that it did shape you for your transformation. And I feel like that is a universal truth that we can apply to our struggles is if we can create just enough space to zoom out and see, okay, this is a refinement happening for me, leading me to be a leader or be a pioneer in a way that is unique to us at an individual level.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the way I look at things. There is no such thing as problems to me. These are tests by the universe. Like if you're going through and you go, "Oh, this happened to me." I mean, come on. Things don't happen to you. Things happen, right? Like so when we get like we're in the business of challenges. Are you kidding me? Everybody's trying to, we got all kinds of we're in the gray area, we're like it's very, very sketchy. So I have to stand strong. So this whole thing is really not about psychedelics so much as it is me standing in my integrity, in my truth, and not moving and still moving forward into all of these things and not backing out. Don't get out of the saddle. That's my thing. No matter what, right? I will show up. This is because I believe in it. And it tests me. It says, okay, how much do you really believe in this? Like, are you 90%, whatever. So the challenges or the problems are, again, not problems. In order to evolve, you have to solve an issue, overcome a trauma, overcome some sort of adversity. And by definition, when you overcome that adversity, you have evolved. It's like working out. We work out our muscles. Well, you have to work out your mind. You have to work out your mental strength because we're a society of weak minds. And weak minds are food for all kinds of mind viruses to come in that you believe is truth. So if you don't have a strong mind, that's where it all starts, right? And psychedelics help you see that. And it's like scientific. Your neural pathways get stronger. I can feel my nervous system getting stronger when I solve a problem and I stand in it and I look at the mic, or I was looking at the clock on my oven the other day, trying to speed up like my food because I'm trying to control it. And and I was like, made myself not take my eyes off the counter, clicking down because knew that was driving me mad, but I was going to get through it. And it's those little things. And then, but I felt like I could do that, right? It's little things like that make you become patient and not try to control time, not try to speed up your food being cooked. Just relax. And these little things that we do are what change our neurochemistry and make us, see things a different way. And that's how we change because we are our habits. And if we habitually think about stuff, we become that. But just look at what you do every day. Whatever you're doing every day is really who you are. That's how it is, Change your habits, change your life.
So, for someone who's maybe going through their habitual way of being, and maybe they need to have the job that they have to afford the housing they have, etc., and they're sort of witnessing the cyclical nature of their reality, knowing that they are part of a matrix or a larger systems orchestration, what can you recommend to them at a very practical level to start to integrate into their lifestyle to make little micro moments of change for themselves?
It's attachment. Just don't get attached to things, good or bad. We get attached to this job. We get attached that this is going to be forever. We get attached, this is who I am. We get attached to our thoughts. But I also think that um, finding your purpose is massive. Like, why are we here? Like, are we here just to buy things and sit, because the whole system is designed for us to not have a purpose because a person with no purpose isn't going to do anything. They're just going to be a consumer. They're not going to be a producer, right? So, but I believe we're tribal. I believe we all have an archetype, and I believe there's a reason we're here, that we're gifted this magical thing we call life. And find that, and then when you find that, you'll get inflow, as they say, and then you're really not working anymore, right? You're doing something that you're here to do, and then the money will come, and you know, then you're not in this loop of survival, because we tend to run from two main modes. We run from either inspiration or desperation. And when we know this too, we all know this, right? When you run from desperation, nothing goes your way, right? You're hanging around the wrong people. You always make the wrong decision. So, find what works for you, and that can be small, big, or whatever. But I feel like when you do things, when you do the next, I have this thing where I say to people, just do the next right thing. And you keep it simple like that. Because if you start looking way in the future, you start making plans, they're not going to happen that way. They just don't. But if you just go, okay, today, this takes such a weight off of me. I don't like today, I'm going to come to District 216, right? Tomorrow, I don't even know what I'm doing, right? I just know I'm going to pick the right thing. And it's the little things, like, who am I going to call? Am I going to take that call? Somebody's calling. You take that one call, it could be from the wrong person and it might take you off track, right? So, watch the little things. It's the little things that turn out to be the big things. Um, and yeah, watch your another trick that I do is at the end of my day, I really get honest with myself and I say, what did I spend my time doing? Like, really? Like, how much time was I really scrolling through Instagram? How much time was I listening to a friend bitch about their boyfriend or girlfriend? You can't get that time back. So be very aware of these little habits. And the other thing is, like, I practice a lot of stoicism. My mind, my brain is precious real estate. Like, whatever's in there, I decide what goes in and what does not go in. So people complaining or other people's energy, if you listen to them and get upset by what they're saying, now their energy is in you, taking up your valuable hard drive, and now it's running you, right? You let it in though, right? So we don't have to let that stuff in. We don't have to accept anything. We decide, but we have to be aware of what to decide and what not to decide, and then don't get attached to it and let it go. Move on, right? And also stay moving. Just keep moving. Movement changes perception, right?
Yeah, totally. At a neurological and physiological level. And I love all that you shared, and I think that's important information for people to meditate on. I want to tune back into what guided you to psilocybin
Oh,
because
right.
you shared that your journey started with ayahuasca, and I understand now that you're in the business of very mindful and attuned, like mushroom cultivation. And so I want to hear more about what guided you there.
Well, ended up in Topanga Canyon. I was living in one room in Venice, and somehow through ayahuasca ceremony, whatever, I ended up not knowing anything about Topanga Canyon. I got this house with a fake loan, and anyway, I moved up there because I saw it in a ceremony, whatever. I had no idea what Topanga Canyon was. That was 8 years ago. We started, the guy who sold me the house was a part-time shaman, so he started coming in, and I didn't know anybody, and I was like, cool. And we started doing ayahuasca ceremonies, like 2 or 3 a month. There were 2 weekend ceremonies. I started meeting those people, and the facilitators and whatnot started doing mushrooms. So I had some room, and I was in the film business, which had already kind of collapsed around me. So I started. I would take mushrooms and go for a hike, and I knew that like really helped me, right? And this is 8 years ago when nobody was really doing anything. So anyway, there was a guy that knew how to grow, and he taught us in pressure cookers and mason jars and corn. And I mean, it was crazy. I had 22 pressure cookers going, but we started growing mushrooms for these shamans and these guys under the deck. I mean, can you imagine what 22 pressure cookers sound like going all day? my neighbor, like, I don't know what a meth lab sounds like, but if I had, I don't know, it didn't sound legal. That's, I can tell you that. I don't know what illegal sounds like, but that is what, it sounded like. So anyway, we had Home Depot tubs and we were growing and we were doing our own genetics somewhat. And of course, we grew a lot of bacteria. We had a lot of contamination and shut down a couple times and whatnot. But I knew it was the right thing to do, and nobody was really doing it because it helped me so much. And they just kept saying, "Don't give up. Just keep going, keep going." Um, and then along the way, the marijuana guys started watching us, and I partnered with them for a minute 5 years ago, and then it wasn't a good fit, to say the least. And they basically took the genetics, ran with them, and created something else and locked me out. And so I shut it down, and then I had landed a big movie, and my film career was coming back. A friend of mine came in from Europe. We did an ayahuasca ceremony at my house. I dropped in, and the mother ayahuasca, if anybody here has done ayahuasca, the mother shows up and she goes, "Hey, we've been wanting to talk to you. You've been avoiding us." I was like, "Uh-oh, here it comes." She goes, "Yeah, the mushroom thing, you're getting back in it." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm going to do this movie is what I'm going to do." She goes, "No, no, no." She goes, "You're doing it all wrong." I said, "All right." And she says, "You need to only work with mindful people." I went, "Okay, that's fair." And she goes, that 10 years of alcoholism and all that stuff you went through, that was part of your journey. That's necessary so you can speak to this medicine. As it's helped you, you will tell others how it works. And you will speak from experience, vast experience of how it doesn't, what doesn't work. And because you will speak with authenticity. And then she showed me this, and this is what you'll be helping humanity with. And then it showed me this montage of death and disease and war and child trafficking. And she said, this is what you'll be helping humanity with. And she said, but the mushrooms want you. They want you to learn everything. Now, I didn't know the science yet. I didn't know mycology. That's a whole nother level. She's like, no, no, no. You have to learn everything about this. And then she went on to say, we know you're scared, but if you operate like this, we will protect you. So I come out of that ceremony, I'm like confused. I'm already prepping a movie. And 4 days later, the pandemic hit. She was showing me the pandemic as well as other things. So the movie was gone. So from that day, which I realized was 5 years ago, till now, I have not stopped. So I kicked open whatever wasn't stolen from me, and by myself, I started back up because I knew it was necessary, and I haven't stopped. And we failed, and we failed, and we failed, and I was pissed off, trying to figure out something was wrong, and I sold an ounce of mushrooms to this facilitator, and he called me a couple days later after his ceremony, and he said, "Hey, let me give you some feedback on your medicine." He said, "Me and my client went really deep on your medicine, and we both saw you in our journeys." I was like, "Oh, that's weird." He goes, "Yeah, and we both felt your fear, and we both saw the contamination, and we both felt your frustration." He said, "Your frequency is in the medicine." So I went, by now I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. I knew cymatics. I studied fractals and sacred geometry, and I went, I'm listening again. So I built a sound chamber, and now we grow them in a sound chamber underground with everything you can imagine frequencies. We have the crystal bowls, we have Buddhist chants, we have Kundalini music and everything. And that's how frequency was born, right? So we are all about Mother Nature. We're all about, we don't know what's in a mushroom. I'm working with scientists. I'm working with USC. I'm on these studies we're working with because we have experience. We're like, we've been around for a long time. I have experience. We've done thousands of journeys. We've worked with thousands of people. But Mother Nature, the universe, knows what's going on. We don't. We're synthesizing. We're creating all these recipes. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, we don't really know what's in a mushroom. We cannot test for things that we are unaware of. You have to create equipment to test for things you're looking for. Well, We don't know, right? Every mushroom, I know because I do this every day. Every single mushroom is unique, as every human being is unique in any given moment. And I find that really interesting. Like, why have the same thing over? We are not the same, right? And we're different people than when we sat down, right? We are moving through the universe, electricity, right? So we don't know, so we don't mess with it. It is beyond our comprehension. So our job is to grow the medicine in the most sacred way, intentional way possible, and then don't interfere. Let it go, right? Who are we to mess with it? So that is what makes frequency different. Every product we have has 100% of the biomass in it. We don't add anything to it. We don't take away anything. We don't synthesize. We don't extract, because we don't know what we're doing as human beings. I've been on thousands of journeys, and let me tell you, the universal wisdom of the universal consciousness knows what's happening and has a plan for us if we listen. So this is what we're bringing to humanity, is awareness. Once you become aware, you can take it from there, right? We know how to heal ourselves, right? We can see behind the veil of what's happening. We create our own misery, but we can also create our own destiny and joy, right? Once we're aware. And once you see behind all this stuff that's going on, it's huge freedom, right? So, and then throughout the years, after we've created this brand, people, there's so many talented and skilled healers all over the place, looking for a place to land. There's sound healers and tantra healers and acupuncturists and ozone therapy and, of course, medicine people and all these really skilled practitioners that have nowhere to do their practice. They're trying to work out of an apartment or something. So we have 2 acres of land. And so I built out about an acre, and we have facilities to do all these practices behind a big, fence, and we back up to Topanga State Park, so everybody can operate and use we have giant bell tent, we have several decks, we have interior ceremony space, we have exterior ceremony space, we have meditation gardens, we have live streaming, we have Buddhist events, we're creating a schedule of morning practices that are live, Kundalini yoga, breath work, etc. But anyway, we're offering this like a Soho house that everyone can utilize and everybody benefits in this Aquarian age of collaboration. We work together. We don't compete. We collaborate.
And that's such a teaching of the fungi.
Totally.
Yeah.
Symbiotic relationship, right?
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Those were actually details that I wasn't aware of, but really happy to hear. And I want to celebrate your courage to follow the ask of Mother Ayahuasca to really choose something radical that was not logical to Mark's thinking mind.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, who came up with logic? Humans, right? How's that going? Right? We're doing predictive analytics and stuff. Well, I guess they're not going to be able to predict us because we don't know. But wherever we're going is going to be a new path, right? So I encourage you, stop thinking and start listening, because all the answers are right there waiting to land, but we have chaos in the mind and it has no room to land, right? It's been there since the beginning. We know this, all thoughts, all ideas, all events, everything is right here, and we can't hear it. Yep. And we have some of our products back there too. We can talk more about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the spectrum of your offerings, because the Topanga House is like the in-person experience or the virtual experience. And then you also have this product line where people are able to journey at their own pace on their own time. So
Yeah.
tell us more
Yeah,
about.
something like that.
Yeah.
So there's 3 main categories of dosing. We have the microdose, which is somewhat imperceptible. Then on the other hand, we have the macrodose, which is something you do to get to what we call ego death, right? And that's very important. I think that people do that at least once or twice in their life. You find out who you are without your ego. and you get right down to your consciousness. And that's a mystical experience that is necessary, I believe. And then in the middle, I call it the fun zone. We have social doses. So the microdoses of those illusions and worries that I told you earlier, that we make up these 80 to 97% worries that never happen, microdosing shuts down these windows, right? So it works on a subtractive process. It removes that. And it's a light dose, so you don't have any visuals or anything, but it works by just shutting off your worry and removing those from you. And then I'm like, who would you be, Fernando, if you didn't worry, right? Like you go, wow, right? So that's what microdosing does. And you do that enough times, you start to rewire the brain to not have that habit. So, microdosing and psilocybin mushrooms in general have coined a new, not only are they non-addictive, they coined a new word called anti-addictive, meaning they break addictive behaviors, right? So that's not good for business, right? Addiction is good for the economy, right? Okay, then the social dose, you feel a little bit of it, and you kind of usually feel really joyful and happy and stuff. Again, you've removed more of the noise, so you have, and this is how we get more energy. People are like, oh, mushrooms give me energy. No, no, no. They make you more efficient. You're driving your car with your foot on the gas and the parking brake on, right? Because we're spinning out, right? We're electrical beings and we're leaking all the energy out through, we're burning all our battery with our brain just spinning out, and it burns 70% of your battery. If you're a calm mind, none of that happens. Yogis sleep 3 hours a night. They don't sleep. That's an American thing, right? So that's what microdosing and social dosing does. So we have cacao cubes. We didn't come out with a chocolate bar. I wanted to do something a little more high end. So we have individually dosed tidal wave 4, full biomass, meaning the full mushroom, ground, harvested perfect on time, which is very important, and mixed in with Guatemalan cacao. They're vegan and they're wrapped individually, which is a huge hit. We've been just going, selling those like crazy. And then we have tea. We have social tea that's 750 milligrams mixed with some Tulsi rose flower in individual tea bags. That's a huge hit. Tea's great because it goes into the body really simply. It doesn't have to be converted harshly through the liver. So that's a very social kind of thing, and you can sip it. And, when you sip it, it's very social. You don't have to drink wine or whatever. It's great. And then we also support healers. We have a separate peer-to-peer website that we have large quantities of the good stuff, I say, for ceremony, because the shamans and the healers, they don't have anybody supporting them. So we support them. We have the clean medicine. They know where to get us. We can build your own bundle online. We have heart openers. We have Hape. We have everything that you need to do a ceremony, with special blends of genetics and whatnot, and instructions on how to do it. And then we also offer ceremony. So at the Frequency House, we have several facilitators. We're like a talent rep. We rep sound. We rep sound healers. We have one psychiatrist, a couple psychologists. They do medicine work there. We have other medicine facilitators. We have ayahuasca shaman, and then they do things. I do quite a bit of ceremonies, and then we do it on the property under the oak trees in Topanga with the medicine that's grown there, and it's truly a magical experience. Yeah, truly. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I encourage everyone to check out the goodies on their table when we're complete tonight. But I want to talk a little bit about like ceremony as consciousness and the containment that you hold for all practices that happen at the Topanga House. Because you were sharing with me earlier that, yes, like sitting in ceremony with the medicine is a facet of what's offered there, but you're also offering peptide treatment and these other like specialty health services, but merging it with a more spiritual approach.
Yeah, that's a great point. We just came out of the biohacking expo, and it came to me that that's what we're doing. Like, what's the ultimate biohack? Psychedelics. Boom. All disease, I believe, comes from thought, pretty much. I mean, we can catch diseases, but that means your immune system's weak, right? So thought. So we're hanging around all these guys that got all this cool equipment. Some of it's good, some of it's not good, but that's our world. We're really in the biohack. Yes, you can get to some of these altered states if you sit in a cave for 30 years and meditate, or you can spend a weekend with us and get there a little faster, right? So it's a hack. So there's a lot of things that really work in the biohacking world, such as stem cells that are not quite above board yet. They're kind of in the same gray area as psilocybin, right? So we're connected to these doctors, and they're bringing that stuff to us, so we can share it with our community. And they're vetted. These guys are vetted. So we're actually having our first stem cell gathering on May 3rd. But I was like, this is something we don't do in Western medicine. We don't give any intention to our medicine. We just take it. So nobody in Peru just takes combo, just takes ayahuasca, right? It's like intentional. It's like you sit there. I mean, you got to do your part. Like the medicine is going into your body. Like you got to have an intention together. You heal your body. You can't just hey man, it's all on you. And stem cells are the essence of life. Like they come from a baby, and these are intentional. They come from mothers who wanted to donate their child's umbilical cord so that other people can heal. So, I just had it done, and it's life. So let's put our intention in it. So we do it very ceremonial style. We do it in sound, and everybody speaks their intention into the medicine, just like we do mushrooms, just like we do hape, just like we do combo. Why are we not doing this with stem cells, peptides, NAD, whatever? All of these things are going to heal us, but we have to work with it, not just expect from it. That's such a Western thing. What's this doing for me? How selfish is that? I mean, this is the things you start to see. This medicine, let's honor it. Let's give it, let's help, let's work with it. So anyway, I think that's a whole new thing. And I was running it by all the guys at the biohacking conference, and they're like, yeah, dude, that's genius. We just mix these worlds and in this environment, because the environment set and setting, right? We're always talking about the set and setting. Well, where are you getting this medicine? Let me guess, a doctor's office downtown under fluorescent lights, no, let's do it in nature. Let's do it where life begins. There's a vibration to it, a ceremony, ayahuasca ceremony, set and setting, right? I mean, a bar is a set and setting, right? Everybody's coming in there with the same mindset to escape, their shitty world, and the bartender's a shaman, and he's giving them the medicine. It is, right? It's a set and a setting. So let's elevate the set and setting with, modern medicine, and psilocybin is to the mind as stem cells are to the body. And it's coincidental that they're in the same legalization gray area. Is that coincidence? Right? We know they work, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's so powerful, and I'm so inspired by that piece because I'm personally really interested in biohacking and all of those amazing advancements in technology and medicine, but I'm also deeply involved in the spiritual. And I feel like what you're describing is targeting the 3D, having the medicine and the technology available, but then also the 5D consciousness of owning our creator consciousness and
Right.
merging that with our divine will to create a more ceremonial experience. And when we were chatting about this, I was sharing that our relationship to drinking water and food is the same. In our culture, we drink our water so quick and we chug it and we're scarce and we have it in one hand and we eat our food really fast because we only have a 10-minute break at work. And those are also the daily practices that we can ceremonialize and bring more intention in and collaboration with the life force that is our
Yeah.
water and is our
Right.
nutrient. Yeah.
It's wild,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's just wild. I mean, you eat a piece of meat and you just eat it. We don't even chew it. Right? Chew your food. I mean, you see a difference. If you really, I've been mindfully doing this, and if you chew your food for 5 times longer than you normally do, your whole digestive tract changes, man. Because we're just swallowing it. In the stomach's going, what's going, geez. So, and we don't realize that came from a cow. That came from, it's a life, right? So it died so we can live, and we just take it. It's very parasitic. It feels, right? So yeah, it's energy, and we're totally unaware of it.
And I think what you're doing, like, is truly radical, and I really celebrate, like,
No,
you standing so true in that. And when we were preparing for tonight, I asked Mark if there was anything that was, like, off the table, like, any directions he didn't wanna go.
no.
He said no.
I mean, what are we doing here? Are we in or are we out? Like, right? This is another problem. Like, like, okay, you can't expect 100% out of a company or a relationship or anything if you're putting in 10, if you're putting in 50 and you want 100 back, percent back, that's off balance. You got to be in, fearless. Like, you can't. And the fear is what are you afraid of? Nobody's making it out alive. What are we afraid of? Right? Right? So what's the fear? I mean, the thing is too, it's like, but people come up to me and they say, I'm afraid to do psychedelics. I'm afraid to do psychedelics. And I go, I get it. I used to be. But what you're saying is you're afraid of yourself because you're in a safe place. You're laying on a couch. I'm standing there watching you. Nobody's hurting you, right? You're afraid of what's in here. You're afraid of what you might find. Just think about that for a second. Why would we be afraid of what we might find in our own consciousness? Right now, we know we're not in control if that's the case, don't we? The fear is running it, and it will run you till you die, and then you will be so regretful that you never addressed whatever it is. And you're looking at a guy that addressed the fucking darkest things I thought ever, and they're not that bad. We make them insurmountable. We create these illusions that, oh, I can't call that person. Oh, I can't. No, I could never. Well, right there, who's in control? Who's in the driver's seat? This is what psychedelics help with, right? If you're not, I just look at every day, like, am I driving me or are my illusionary thoughts driving me, right? Like, how do we talk to ourselves? This is a big one. Like, we never even think about this. There's two voices going on, at least. Some have more, right? We call them schizophrenic, but they're the talented ones, I think, right? They used to be honored, but okay, there's a voice in your head. Who's talking and who's listening? That's fair, right? Right? There's all this noise going on, right? We got all this, well, who's making the noise, right? So in Kundalini and some of this stuff, you become aware of that that's even happening, and then you start to understand that most thoughts are not yours, right? So the feelings is out. And then I also started learning how to change the channel of what thoughts come in. The thoughts used to be of harming myself. The thoughts used to be of doubt. The thoughts to be that wasn't me, right? I first learned about this one morning. I woke up. I was probably 3 years sober. I was doing Kundalini yoga every morning or twice a day. Anyway, I woke up suicidal out of nowhere. Had no idea where this thought came from. Like really bad. I run to class. The guru gets up. I can't remember who it was. And she sits up there and she goes, hey, did anybody have these thoughts this morning? And she said, suicide, harming, I like listed off my thoughts exactly. And I was like, oh, what the? And I went, and about half the class raised her hands and she said, yeah, those came into my field today too. They're not yours. The human mind is a radio receiver. The nervous system is, 63,000 miles of wire. It picks up stuff, right? The pineal gland's magnetic, right? An untrained mind doesn't know this. She goes, yeah, don't worry, calm down. They're not yours. And here's what we're going to do to get rid of them, right? But for every day since then, I went, oh my God, these are not mine, right? So I push them away. Now I'm the observer. Now I'm the person, now I'm in charge and I'm observing what thoughts are coming in my head. And I can examine them and I can push them out, right? So as the more I do that, the calmer I become and the more I've changed the channel. Now when the thoughts come in, it's more like the comedy station. Like stuff just comes in that's ironic, that's fun, and teaching and wisdom comes in. And I go around all day getting downloads of little nuggets of wisdom. I don't get the screaming, you kill yourself stuff, which I used to get. So I'm like, what happened? I guess I changed the station. I don't know. But this is kind of how it works. So it's all, and that goes back to awareness. So, just being aware so that you can, just that awareness guides you. And we're just sharing ways to find your awareness so that you can guide yourself and ask these questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I I love what you said, and I have mostly been in pure presence with you up here, but there was a moment where I received a visual that I would like to share
Yeah.
because it's kind of funny. Um,
Tell me.
you like making a film,
Yeah.
following the AA model of like going out and giving your apologies to
Yeah.
people.
Amends.
Yeah, but you're actually inviting them to sit in ceremony.
Nice.
And there's, like, people who say yes, so then the documentary just then
Oh,
becomes
a
following these
reality
people.
show.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I received that in a flash while we were speaking.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, making amends is a huge one. Like the AA program, I think is really solid because, except for the first couple parts, but it's Buddhism. You write down all your character defects, as they call them, which is basically your bullshit, and then you share them with somebody, get them out into the universe, speak it into existence, and then burn it, get rid of it, and then you clean up the wreckage of your past. That's karma. And I remember I made a list, and you got to be honest all the way, like the darkest stuff, because you're as sick as your secrets, right? That is fact. You are as sick as your secrets, right? And they haunt us. And if you don't get them out, they haunt, and then you pick up a drink, you pick up whatever you're doing, because you can't stand what that haunting. That's what makes people do what they do, right? And it won't go away until you eradicate it. So my first amend was, of course, to a woman. And I wrote down, and I said to my sponsor, okay, what do I do? I text her, I email her, and he looked at me and he goes, what? You're going to go see her? And I go, I can't see her. I did this to her. And he looked at me and he goes, do you want to be free or not? And I went, fuck. So, but I called her up, and I thought she would never answer the phone, right? I call her up. She answers. She goes, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh my God, you sound amazing. Are you okay? You sound great. Oh my God, it's so good to hear from you." I was like, "Wow." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm doing really well, and I'd like to take you to coffee." She pauses. She goes, "Are you doing the amends step?" And I went, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, of course." So the point is, I made up this huge major motion picture of what I could not do and never face and I was terrified of, that was completely an illusion. But we do this constantly, and that is weakness, right? So I flew back to Chicago, and I looked at my grandmother in the eye, and I made amends, which is not saying you're sorry, is making things right. And that's karmatic law, right? We know that. So that's like making it right. If you owe people money, if it takes you the rest of your life to pay them back, pay them back, whatever it is. But I think that's really, you have to do that. And then the last component is being of service. Well, if you're not being of service, why are you here? Right? And we know that giving and receiving is the most joy human beings can do for each other, right? And also allowing to receive things. Because if you don't allow, I was guilty of this. If I don't allow somebody to give me something, which I did, I was like, no, I'm good. Well, I'm depriving them of the same joy that I get when I give something. So that's selfish, right? It took me a while to figure that out, right? And that's how the flow works, right? So, what was the question?
No, I like what you're saying about rejecting flow. And I want to zoom out on this a layer bigger because you're saying if you owe the person money, pay them back and da 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 da. And for me, my like spiritual gnosis is that at a soul level, this information is remembered for our next incarnation.
For sure.
So I just wanted to check with you if that is also your spirituality or if there's a way you want to describe that larger why.
Um, I mean, in these realms, there's no doubt in my mind, everything is based in truth. It has to be that way. Any anything is based in the truth. Like, in the beginning there was the word, it's integrity. If you cannot honor your word as a person, you have nothing. Nothing, right? So all healing comes from truth. And I tell this when I work with people. They're squirming around on the floor. I go, hey, man, you can lie to yourself, you can lie to everybody else, but you cannot lie to the universe. You cannot do it. And they go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I see them like struggling, and I go, stop lying. Just come clean. It's not that bad. Just look in the mirror, own it. Then that's healing. That's healing. The body heals. We can't love without truth. Truth comes from, like it even says it in several ancient texts, it goes like this: truth, then joy, and then love. Because you cannot love without respect. That means you trust. You have to feel safe. You can lust, but you cannot really love somebody unless you feel safe and you respect them. And that is based in truth, right? So karmatically, if you don't clean up all of this nonsense and make it right before you pass, you're going to have to do it again. You're going to have to go back and clean your room. I mean, I don't know how to explain it in language, but just do the right thing. Because if I don't do the right thing, it haunts me. It just haunts me. I cannot I can't do it anymore because it rocks me to it'll make me sick. It did make me sick. That's why I was drinking. I was running from my shame, which was running from lying. I was running from, so psychedelics, all ayahuasca, everything I've ever done, it slaps you with the truth and you can't run from it. It goes right here, and until you acknowledge it, it won't leave. Right? Anybody's been on a psychedelic journey, a deep dive, that's what happens, right? And once you face that, that's freedom. We're free, right? And it's really simple. So, yeah, it's really important to clean it up, and then don't create any more wreckage. Be aware of it. And then life's just easy. You don't need, how much shit do you need, right? Just get the stuff covered, and as long as you're safe and healthy. But this is where mental health comes in, right? Yeah, it's just freeing the mind. The mind is just, it's just so distracted. And everything is designed in society to distract you, and distraction is taking you off purpose. It's just when you become aware, you're like, no, 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 no. You stay present, and this is what guides you. This is what guides me. And psychedelics, like the mushrooms, just being disciplined to be with them and grow, and running a business that I have to show up for every day and believe in my truth, has taught me how to be a man and to be free of my mind. Not necessarily the medicine, but just the discipline of doing what I believe is right and doing it fearlessly. And that has created, who I am today. And I'm free a lot from all this stuff. I practice stoicism. Why? Nobody can make you mad unless you allow it. Nobody can take advantage of you unless you allow it. Nobody can do anything unless you allow it. We are in control, right? I just ask people the simple question: who's in the driver's seat? Is your trauma driving the car, or are you driving it? Right? How many summers you could think you got left, right?
Well, thank you for sharing what you've cultivated with us tonight at the District House. I want to turn into the audience to see who may have some questions that they want to share. And we'll take about 10 minutes for the audience Q&A. It's really important that when you have a question, you raise your hand until there's a mic in it, and then you ask your question directly into the mic. Thank
Hi. I don't know how to put this. Did you have to um with siblings or family members, did you have to do things around them? I don't know if you have siblings or family members. Oh, well,
What's that?
you do have family members.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Any cleanups and stuff, or
Oh, yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Still going. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's
That was affecting
it's
you, I guess.
yeah. No, it's tough. Because here, I've done all of this work, but we can't make somebody else do it, right? So actually, sometimes the more, we talk a lot about this in family therapy. It's like, okay, you get better, right? But that throws the balance of the relationship off, right? Especially in couples, right? Okay, oh, he's a drunk. Okay, he sobers up or whatever. Now, like he can see what's really going on, right? And they don't want that, right? They like to be the victim. People like, oh, I date so and so. He's an alcoholic. I'm the victim. Look what I put up with, right? And when somebody sobers up or becomes clear, they can't play that card anymore, right? So, but family members, you can't, they don't see that sometimes. They can't see they're even playing the victim role or whatever. But no, I've struggled with that a lot. And, on that note, I have trouble with one of my sons communicating with him. I know I traumatized him but that was 20 years ago. But he still holds it there, and, so I went into a ceremony once with a shaman and I said, I really want to improve my communication with my son. And he said to me, how's your communication with your dad? My dad. And he's 80 something. And I went, not good. And he goes, yeah, start there, buddy. Right? Hello. This is awareness, right? We're trying to, and like, we don't even do it. Like, I got to clean that up first. That's how it works, right? Lineage, you know? So I didn't even really know. I mean, I knew my dad, but I didn't know my dad. So I was like, how do I clean up communication that's 60 years bad? And it wasn't bad. We just didn't talk much. It was like, how's the weather, whatever, superficial. So he lives in Florida where everybody that's over 80 lives. It's mandatory. He has a little yappy dog and a golf cart. It's mandatory. Um, so I fly back or wherever, I can't remember. Yeah, he was in Florida. And went back there just for this reason. And I took my dad to lunch and I said, leave the wife at home, whatever. And just me and you. And he goes, yeah, this is really nice. And I go, I'm interested in something. He's like, I go, I don't really know who you are. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm your dad. I go, yeah, but like I know nothing. I hear what we used to talk about, but it was Chicago and nobody talked much, drinking. He goes, well, what do you want to know? I go, start at the beginning. And he goes, what? I said, just tell me your story. I'm like, I just wanted the documentary camera mode. I said, just tell me your story. And he started telling me his story. 6 hours later, we weren't even halfway through it. And I had no idea who my father was. The poverty he went through, the wars they went through, his brother died. I had no idea of any of this. He didn't even see his father in his whole life. How could he show me love? How could he was doing the best he could with what he had, right? So this information is like crucial. Now I have compassion for him, right? I don't judge him. We run around being victims of our parents. That's completely unfair to them. We don't know what they went through. They're not telling us. They're not sharing. We judge them, and we're running around being victims of mom and dad. And how's that working out? Right? Who's suffering? We are, right? That's all you got to ask. Ask the question, who's suffering? If we don't forgive someone, who's suffering? We are, right? They don't care, right? If you're angry at someone, as the Buddhists say, when you're angry at somebody, they're your master and you're their slave. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic, you're screaming at them. Who's suffering? They've got you. They are totally controlling you, and they don't even know you, right? And this is what we do all day long. And we create misery. I've seen people screaming and yelling at people in traffic, and they'll hold on to it for a day. They'll be talking about it at dinner. And you're like, dude, do you realize you just ruined one day of your life? You're never going to get back about some guy you never even saw. And by the way, you've cut off people and you don't even know it. Do you see how crazy this is? Because you're unaware, right? So just like, let it go. Let it go. These are, these things are very important to maintain control, because again, we're creating our own misery because we love to be the victim. It's the government's fault. It's this fault. It's this whatever, right? No, it's your fault for letting it in. And then, we can change perception. Like, look at the positive. I mean, you've traveled the world. Yeah, it's a little crazy here, but it's fucking crazy in other countries, right? I wouldn't be sitting here talking like this in another country, right? There wouldn't be Jacob putting this thing together, So we are blessed, and we're pioneers of this Aquarian age. And let's be grateful, like really grateful, right?
Two really simple questions. One is, what is your address? And two is, when do you open tomorrow?
It depends which law enforcement agency you're with. Yeah.
Seriously, sincerely, I have been making a practice of waiting until I am confident that I'm in the right space and around the right person to do something. And I think I'm in the right space, and I think you're the right person. So
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to define what that something is. But yeah, we have our business cards and stuff back there. Yeah. Fernando,
Hello, Mark.
good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. Okay, I know Mark for a long time, and I know his products. And you were talking about chocolate, and I remember when I fell in love with your chocolate. Guys, try his products. He really put and I try it when I grow mine. The frequency, it really bring the medicine to a higher boss amazing level. I remember eating one. I was doing an LP, helping to teach, and I forgot that was a medicine one. And in the middle, 1 hour later, I was like a flying, teaching, helping, support, and said, "Why I feel so good? Why I feel so good?" And it was your chocolate. So you were talking about chocolate today. Do you have another one? You come out with a new one, or is the same one?
Well, we have a different strain in it. We've upped our DNA, like I've been amplifying it. It's called sectoring. So the DNA is, getting, we're raising the DNA. So if we got a second, I'll talk about genetics if people are interested. When people say things like, I have tidal wave, I have golden teacher, I have penis envy, whatever. Genetically, that's like saying you got a white guy. Right? Do you have a fat white guy, or do you have a Navy SEAL white guy? Do you have a smart white guy? Do you have an idiot? Do you have an angry white guy? These things are sentient, as we know, right? It picked up on my anger, right? They're sentient, which means they have emotions. They pick up on feelings. They react to vibrations, right? So when I do the mycology work, which I've been learning for 5 years nonstop, but I have my own spin on it, we're amplifying the Navy SEALs of each genetic. So in other words, I take the Navy SEAL out of an agar dish. When we grow it, there's a battlefield going on. There's a battlefield going on in your body. There's thousands of wars with your antibodies and your immune system and your white blood cells constantly, right? The Petri dish is the same. So I can see the battles. I can pull the Navy SEALs out, and I amplify the Navy SEALs into another dish, the elite. And then I take the elite of the elite, and I put it in another dish, and I take the elite of the elite, right? And then we fruit that out, and then I do it again. It takes like a year. But every time we do that, we are building the DNA higher and higher. Yeah, it might be golden teacher, tidal wave, but we've amplified it to the Navy SEAL. Now, also, we have the environment. Right? We never talk about that with food or anything. Human beings, if we have identical twin humans, same DNA, one grows up in a violent household and one grows up in a loving household, they will be the same DNA, but vibrationally, we know they will be tremendously different people because of their environments, their food, what they're watching, whatever, right? What's the difference, right? Our mushrooms are the same. They're sentient. They're intelligent. If I take 2 bags of them, we grow in bags. If I take one bag that's really vibrant, growing, and I put a bag that's not next to it, not touching, the other bag will mimic it, right? How does that work, right? But physics tells us it does. If I have 2 acoustic guitars next to each other and I pluck the A string on one, the other A string will vibrate without you touching. That's classical physics, right? We are vibrational beings, right? Right? Electricity does not flow down the wire like we think it does, like water. The energy is not coming from the power plant. A disruption and disturbance in the electrical field comes down the wire. And when it disturbs the energy in this room, the energy in this room ignites the light bulb, right? So when we have a disturbance in our electrical field, it radiates out everywhere, right? So that's what our thoughts are. That's what our emotions are. These are electrical fields. This is scientific stuff. We radiate disturbance in the field or harmony in the field, right?
Thank you.
We have space.
Did you drive here?
We have room for one more question tonight. Cool. Well, thank you, audience. Love when that happens in that way, right on time. I have a final few questions for you. They're called the Change Your Lens questions, and I ask them to every guest. My request is that you don't think, but you just speak, which you're skillful in. So, my first question for you is if you were stranded on an island and you could only be with one book to read, what is that one book?
I think it would be Fear by Osho.
And you also have access to one album that you are able to listen to.
For sure, Physical Graffiti by Led Zeppelin.
And do you perceive us to live within a simulation? And how do you define that?
Oh, for sure. We're in a simulation of our own doing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we know, quantum physics says the observable universe, things matter, things change when thus observed, laying in a state of potential or whatever. So, for sure. No doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
Is there any psychedelic or plant medicine that you haven't tried but you want to?
Yeah.
And why?
Iboga. Not ibogaine. I want to try iboga, the natural root from Africa. Hardcore. Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I feel like it's a box I need to check. It's like, back in the day when I started like 10 years ago, ayahuasca, iboga was always, wait till you do it. It's a 5-day journey, a real iboga journey. Ibogaine is like 72 hours, but iboga can go on for 5 days, right? So I don't know. There's something mystical about it that I think it would be interesting, because the way I read about it is it's like a slideshow of your entire life that it plays back through. It's very fascinating.
I'd like to have you back after you have that journey.
Coming up next on March. Yeah.
And if you could sit in ceremony with anyone, dead or alive, on any substance of your choice, who's there and what are you dropping?
Mm. Mm. Wow, that's a great question. I think it would be, wow, hang on, I have it. I think it would be, oh shoot, I can't think of his name. It would be an ancient philosopher. Like probably, I would love to sit with Marcus Aurelius, I think, and I think I would like to do, yeah, ayahuasca with him. Yeah, yeah, that's what I would like to do. Yeah, with Marcus Aurelius. I just think that guy was the shit. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
And how do you describe your current understanding of an afterlife? And do you feel that psychedelics give us access to that?
Oh yes, not even access. I mean, I've been in many ego deaths, so I've already been there. I have been so many ceremonies, and I haven't really shared this much, but not too long ago, I did have a near-death experience, and life was leaving me. I was in the emergency room, and I went through the whole thing. And I took all my psychedelic training of breath. Breath is everything. Like, we don't do it, but breath is the essence of connecting consciousness with the body. And I use my breath, and I use my focus and my awareness and calm mind, and that's what kept me here. Otherwise, I don't think I would be here. But I think when we get in these realms, it is where we go when we die. So becoming less afraid of death, life is so much better. Because isn't this all about, I mean, if you look at every fear, it really can be whittled down eventually to the fear of death. And if you eliminate that or you make that minimal, my God, every minute's different. Like, what are you going to be afraid of? And then we live very differently and we embrace it. And to understand that we're mortal, like this is like, like the clock is ticking. It's not a race. And it's not for you to worry. It's just to be aware so we don't waste it. Because we have this weird thing in the United States, right? We just think we're never going to die. It's so bizarre. And we don't talk about it. In fact, we have these ceremonies. I went to my aunt's funeral. I was like, they put shit in her body so it doesn't deteriorate. Like what? Like, I want to go, be food for mushroom. Like we're supposed to regenerate. I mean, really, right? We're supposed to that's selfish to not be food for, nature. And then we put them in a box that's thousands of dollars and then we don't say anything. I mean, it's crazy, right? So, but like, let's live every day like that we are going to die and then we embrace everything. And then, we have a different relationship because the other thing, and, you've seen the documentaries, when we do a spiritual practice is really preparation for death, right? That's what we're doing. We're preparing ourselves for the transition. And that's cool. We're also becoming a child again. We're unwinding, once a man, twice a boy, they say. We're unwinding all this nonsense we put in the middle between birth and death, right? Because when we really want to become curious and aware and happy again, well, that's just simply stop thinking. And that's what children are. So we're just going backwards, right? And that's beautiful.
My final question for you, in however way you want, please encapsulate what is the nature of consciousness?
Um, this is what I believe and seen and felt is that consciousness is the space between us. So I'll try to make this fast. We are electrical beings. We have 63,000 miles of wire through our bodies. We are run by electricity, more than biology, way more. Planet Earth is molten iron and nickel spinning at 25,000 miles an hour. That is one fucking huge generator. If I put a little 1/8 horsepower gas motor generator right there, it'll pull enough power out of the air to kill us. That's how much power we are swimming in. Does a fish know it's in the ocean? No, right? So consciousness is the field of energy between us. It is what's running us. It is what powers us. And when we have a disturbance, like I was saying, in the field, it affects us, right? Thoughts, everything, right? So this is what Tesla was screaming. We call it the ionosphere, right? But we're in this energetic field that is consciousness. That is stored information, events, information, and everything that we are in. And that is what powers us. This power comes through the brain, and the brain takes this information and chops it up into what we call thoughts and disperses it through the neural pathways, right? How do ideas pop into your head? Where's that coming from? It's coming from the field. Like Joe Dispenza is talking about this, but this is ancient, the Akasha, right? So it's that other voice, right? And it also powers us. If they dissect us alive and dissect us dead, they will find the same ingredients, but they will not find life. They will not find consciousness. They don't know what it is. They have no concept of what it is, but the ancients know what it is. It's the energy between us. It's the space between us. And that is what drives us.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for all of the wisdom that you have brought to us tonight at the District House. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you, beautiful, receptive audience, as always, for coming out tonight. I feel like the shift in season brought a really nice, refreshing energy, and I appreciate you sharing about all of your projects and what you've been through. Yeah.